Get that boob. Uh yeah, it's showing. It's dotted up. So Lala, I'm gonna let you go first. Oh, you got a presentation?
Not really.
Lala, I got a
I
presentation.
guess last 15 minutes of life.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
You need to Zoom?
Yeah. So yeah, you probably do better just getting on Zoom. You can share it yourself.
And then put it. Use the right here and come home with this right. You have an account or something?
That might be a fair question.
What you got?
Do you think people get on the rental hamster wheel when their credit get whacked, or does their credit get whacked cause them to get on the rental hamster wheel?
I don't think they either got. I don't think they mutually exclusive.
Okay, ask me why I'm asking you that question.
Why you asking?
Okay, I got 1, 2, 3 rental listings.
Mhm.
And I consistently see people applying for houses that cost 2,500, 2,200, 1,800, and it's 3 working able-bodied adults, and all 3 of them credit scores be in the 580s, 570s, 590s.
Mhm.
And I always be thinking to myself, if 3 functional working adults will put their heads together to rent, why would they not do the same thing to themselves?
Maybe you don't like them for that long. That's true.
Okay, but what I mean
And
is,
then our people. But just think about it like this, if they had good credit, they probably would be purchasing versus.
well, okay, that's true, but the only reason I asked Mikey that question is because if they did all have good credit, I still think they wouldn't buy, because I think people too individualistic, to y'all point. Because I don't think that a person who makes 60,000 gonna want to buy a place by themselves that they think is new unit enough for them to put themselves out there. They rather click up to 2 homegirls and rent something by.
Save
That's
money,
why I asked
because it's
Mikey that
about
question.
saving money, about getting credit.
You see what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah.
Well, you got to ask yourself this, Rick.
Well, you can record this, so say it.
No, I mean,
You might make sure.
yeah. So, shit, it is what it is.
But my question.
But what I'm saying, Rick, you gotta. This is the question you gotta ask. What you trying to find from you? Yeah. So what?
So.
Hey, Conchita, Sharita, did y'all send out the reminder link for people to get on Zoom link?
Yeah, I did.
Conchita, can you drop in the group me the link, the Zoom link again? Drop that in the group me. And then Sharita, while she's doing that, can you email it, the Zoom link? Just email it out to everybody?
Uh-huh.
All right. Margaret's here.
Margarita, hey.
Margaret, we was waiting on you.
Okay.
Hey, Ashley. Ain't getting no.
Hey.
Woo, we about to talk about the market. It's crazy. The market is crazy right now. There go Laverne. What's up, Laverne? Man, Laverne, we got food here at the office. We usually Laverne be here ready for that grub, man. All righty. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and so this one I'm gonna do, Lala. I'm gonna let you go first, and then I'm gonna let you go at the end too, just in case people hopped on that didn't hear about you. But I want to be conscious and respectful of people's time. You know what I'm saying? I want to
I'm trying to figure out this. When I said today, I said, Murder got over 15 years. I know you and Mike got over 15 years. 18, actually. Okay, see?
All right, once Shay get back, we'll get started, y'all. So y'all hold tight.
Alrighty, thank you everybody for joining today. We do have our broker's word today with our very own CEO, Michael G. Davis. And then we have a special guest as well, Miss Lala Vaughn with Go-To Transactions. We're going to give her a few minutes to speak about her transaction coordinating company. So let me give you sharing capabilities. He got it. And so without further ado, here is Miss Lala. Go ahead and unmute yourself and tell the people about you and Go-To Transactions.
Hey y'all, thank you for inviting me. I am Lala Vaughn with Go-To Transactions, and I am a professional transaction coordinator here to make all of your lives easier. Thank you, Brooks and Davis, for inviting me. I am also a realtor and a member of the Brooks and Davis signature team, and we are doing transactions, making time efficient for ourselves, and really moving along and getting those clients to contract and close immediately. All right, so I have not done a presentation in about 2 or 3 years. So just bear with me for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I know she clicked on the button, but then she did a whole bunch of other stuff, so I lost it. You said share, right? Present. Are you sharing your screen? So click that. Just a moment, y'all. So what I want to tell you is Go-To Transaction was a company that I created about 4 or 5 years ago. Basically wanted to utilize my knowledge of real estate, never really lose that because I also have some other jobs that I do on the side, more of the healing and holistic side. So with real estate, I still have the knowledge. I like to keep up to date with the local and national real estate processes and any type of standards and changes that have been made. I am definitely the person who would assist you with that. So I've been a realtor for about 10 years now. I've gone to different offices. I was with Brooks and Davis at one time, went to EXP. I've been with Compass and also a few others. So I have a vast knowledge of all types of real estate across the board here in Texas. And so today I want to show you what adds value as a realtor, how I can add value to your team, add value to an individual realtor, and also add value to any rookie realtors that may need some assistance. Okay, so here is how a TC adds value to your business. The first thing I want to focus on and what we all want to focus on is clients. And so if you have an agent that's dedicating more time to meeting with clients, you can actually dedicate more time to meeting with clients, showing properties and building relationships instead of handling paperwork. So I would be the one that handles all the paperwork so that you can focus on your clients. Having a TC adds value to your business because you can streamline your processes. Coordinators manage administrative tasks, ensuring all documents are in order, deadlines are met, reducing delays and complications. So this will basically get you out of the loophole of any emails, any cycles of communication. I am definitely the one that will make sure that the communication is streamlined. Another added value to your business to have a transaction coordinator would be to increase efficiency. So a coordinator can handle timelines, communications, assisting agents in closing transactions faster and fewer occurrences. So if you have, say, a stalemate process within the transaction, like someone you're waiting on phone calls, or you need to even make a phone call and you've made the phone call 4 or 5 times, that would be my job. That's basically what I would sit around, staying on the phone, making sure they're communicating, hounding anybody you need, any emergency information that you need. That would be my job. All right, the next one is, sorry, y'all. That is not the one. Go back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the last one is more transaction. By offloading your transactional tasks, agents can have more times with your clients and your transactions, ultimately growing your business and your revenue. So basically, no administrative tasks, no paperwork, no staying in the office. I want to create an environment where you can have the fun part of real estate, working with your clients and showing properties and all the fun stuff, even going to events, trainings, making more time to go and do some educational things. So it's a lot of different reasons that a transaction coordinator can add value to your business. All right, so the next slide is the first thing we're going to talk about is communications, acting as a liaison between buyers, sellers, real estate agents, and other parties involved in the transaction. We had a meeting this morning with our team, the signature team, and Margaret and I discussed, well, we all discussed some transactions that we have going on. And Margaret was referring to some transactions that she was taken care of, that actually Mr. Davis told her, no, that's what Lala's for. That's what she's going to take care of for you. And her and I discussed it, came up with a plan on how we were going to make sure that she was aware of everything to make her feel comfortable releasing that and letting go of those little duties that you guys are very used to utilize or doing for yourself. So communication is key, timeline management, keeping track of important deadlines, such as inspections, y'all, financial contingencies, and closing dates. So what'll happen is we can either, and we do this, I do this tailored to how you function. So if you like a calendar setup, or if you want an email with the summary of things like that, you automatically get that. So everything is pretty much custom to how you work, not how I work. And then we just kind of combine that and make everything work for both of us. Another thing is document preparation, ensuring all necessary documents are completed and signed by all parties. So I am constantly monitoring emails, ensuring that the agent that I'm working for, either on the buyer or seller side, is aware of an email that came through if I don't see them reply immediately, or I am actually responding to the email or contacting the agent, asking them if they want me to take over that particular email as well. So some of our agents like to be more hands-on, handling emails. Some of your clients actually want someone to be more hands-on as far as their agent goes. So it just depends on how you work, and then I customize based on that. Solutions. Addressing any issues that may arise during the transaction process to ensure a smooth closing. So that's the whole point. Smooth closing. We're trying to get to the closing table, and I want to do everything I possibly can to get you there. Compliance. So this is where it comes in for our system compliance. We have Brooks and Davis, and we have a back system that we have to download every single document that is involved in the transaction for auditing purposes. So what I do is make sure all those documents are in the system for us to complete the file. So I did this about 15 minutes, this little presentation, but the last slide that I have not completed on this one would be the different services. So we have a service that is contract to close. Contract to close means once the earnest money, or you're in the process of scheduling the earnest money to be dropped off, that's pretty much when you send the email, copy myself and any other people involved in the transaction, letting us know you have a contract, it is signed, and now we are in the process of the contract basically, and everything that needs to be involved. And that's where, if you see on the screen, time management comes into play, because at this point, that's when I get involved, watching and monitoring the emails, ensuring that the inspection periods are okay, and we've met those in timely fashion. Any type of seller's disclosures, surveys that need to go out, I will send out a date list for everything, and then you'll know exactly those deadlines to have those in, and we will communicate constantly in reference to that. The next one would be client to close, and client to close is a little bit more intricate on my end and your end, as far as when you hand the client off to me. You can either stay involved in it or go ahead and hand them off to me, and I will completely assist the client so that you can go and get some more deals and some more clients. So we have the client to close package, and that includes pretty much IABS, signing the buyer's rep, doing the listing agreement, just pretty much everything from you actually obtaining and securing your client, you actually letting them know we're going to sign a buyer's representation today, and this is where we are. And so at that time, we do have some packages that include submitting in offers, which will assist you in that time management side of everything, because then you don't have to submit in your own offers. I'm submitting in offers. So, and we can customize that based on what you need for assistance. So, but that is my presentation, and just want to let you know I'm here to help, here to assist in communication, assist in knowledge. I have quite a few years of knowledge that I can add to your transaction. So, all right.
Margaret wants to say,
Thank you, Margaret.
So
Sweet.
mute yourself. Then I'm gonna unmute. Okay. So, you muted?
Mhm.
Okay, so first say that okay, don't look at Shay. All right, so first of all, let me say that all of you all need transaction coordinator. Like the packages that Lala is talking about, client to close, contract to close, The reason I say that you need that is because if you're ever going to put yourself in a position to scale, we're in a volume business. What that means is that you got to do multiple transactions to probably hit your income goals. For you to be able to effectively do that and not risk you using all your time, you need to bring in somebody that's affordable, that can structure the cost in such a way to where you can afford having them in play, right? So I'm a big advocate of it. I'm gonna continue to be a big advocate of it for our agents, especially my transaction fee agents as well as the team agents. Right now, I'm glad that she volunteered because I actually was going to volunteer her to give a testimony, which is Margaret, who has been working with Lala. And like Lala mentioned about working with the signature team. So I absolutely want Margaret to just share her experiences of at what point did she see the need to have a train? Because most people don't bring on people is because of the cost. They're afraid of paying for it, right? So, Margaret, could you speak to that? Like, what was like the final straw that was like, no, I need to add this person, I need to add this expense to help me move my business forward?
Okay, the final straw for me was when I had maybe 4 clients at once. Just trying to keep everything lined up and organized and making sure I stay on top of those dates. So Lala was a big help because it was like a second pair of eyes or someone to say, hey, this date is coming up. And I'm like, okay, so what about this file? This date is coming up on that one. So it took a lot off of my brain, like trying to think of all these dates for 4 different contracts and then 4 different, properties and then the names. And then sometimes I would mix up the addresses with different clients. So I was like, okay, I just need some help.
Yeah.
So that's when Lala came in and she has been a great help with that.
Were you afraid? Like, were you afraid of the cost part of it? Like, oh man, I can't afford to do that right now, so I gotta struggle through it. Like, how did you come to closure with saying, no, I'm gonna go ahead and pay for this?
So I was afraid of the cost, but it would be out of my control. So it's like, as the agent, the buck stops with you. So it's like, okay, well, if I gotta like get a little chart to see which properties, what I'm doing and looking at that, I'll do that. But as it became too much, I said, okay, well, I have to relinquish some control or just get a second pair of eyes.
So now that you've worked with Lala and you've added her into your business, can you say that it's brought you like how has it affected your income? Let me just say that. Or your revenue, like the amount of money that you make.
Well, I would say it affected it positively, but most important, it took stress off. So if I wasn't making as much money and just being stressed out, it didn't matter if I made a lot of money because I was too stressed and need to go take a nap and it couldn't spend it. So, but as she came on, and I have made more money because my headspace is cleared up to do some marketing or come up with different marketing strategies. Go to networking events and not be consumed with, hey, did Cullen sell yet? Or do I have everything for that property? Or wait a minute, I forgot to call this client. Mm-hmm. So I could, work the room some more and negotiate and network and talk to people. So I can see it made a big difference. It cleared up some headspace.
Love that. I love that. Well, you have anything else you want to share?
I wanted to ask Lala some of the pricing packages. Mm-hmm. So you said client to close. What is the difference in pricing between client to close and contract to close?
Great question. Here, you got to unmute yourself.
Okay, so thank you for asking. Great question, Margaret. So contract to close, the price is $325, and that includes everything from the day you sign the contract with the client and they are ready to drop off the earnest money. And within that process, we have the inspection, we have the possible negotiations of the repair. Within that contract to close, you are handling the documentation within that particular package. Pretty much I'm making sure that we have a clear communication. I am the liaison and I'm tracking everything, making sure all of the documents are into whoever they need to be into, and we are following all of the deadlines. And it's pretty much a reminder, and you and I will communicate. We can set it up where we communicate twice a week, just in case, based on the client and how much we need to communicate, or if we need to communicate once a week, we'll set that up as well. The next package is a little bit more intricate. It's a little bit more customized. It's the client to close package. And that's pretty much when you sign the IABS and the buyer's rep. And at that time, I'm involved in knowing and knowledge that you have a client, but I'm not that involved just yet until you decide, once you've shown them houses and they decide if they want to go ahead and put in an offer. At that time, I do offer within that package to put in about 2 or 3 offers for you, just depending on what we're working with and what you need specifically from me, and including in pretty much about 5 documents within that offer. So we have the 1 to 4, we have the financial, the third party, and we have any other documents they're requesting. And so that's a customized package for you. That particular one is about $425, $450, just depending on what you're looking for. I leave that little room because I have fees, I have things that I have to pay for my systems and things like that. So we just kind of customize the price and everything from there. So it's $425 to $450.
Awesome.
I do have some a la carte services where if you just want me to jump in and you're super busy today, you're showing 4 clients, 5 houses, and you are just all over town, and you call me and say, hey, I just saw this property. They want to go ahead and submit an offer. Can you go ahead and get the 1 to 4 together, offer package together? And I do have those a la carte services as well.
Awesome. Now, is there anywhere, Lala, maybe a website or social media where they can see your price list?
So I'm working on the price list right now. So yes, soon I will have that. Probably come back in July, do another presentation, and all of that will be together by then. But yes, right now I just want to give you guys my email address. It is gototransactions@gmail.com. So anyone who is attending, if you have any questions, you have any specific things that you want to ask me, it doesn't matter if you're an advanced agent that's been in the business for 20 years. It doesn't matter if you're like me, where you're transitioning in and out. You may have other jobs that you do, and you may be a rookie agent. It just really doesn't matter. My particular packages and everything that I offer, all of my knowledge. I've been a mentor and a recruiter in real estate, so I pretty much understand, how to assist you from a mentor standpoint. And also I'm a sales rep, so I'm a salesperson. So if you need some assistance in how to sell something or tell people about something, then that's definitely me as well.
Any questions? Any other questions from anyone? Just unmute yourself. If you have any questions for Lala, just unmute yourself. And
Does this apply for rentals too, or just sales? Hi, Lala.
Ashley? Rentals or just sales? That's a good question. Both of them are transactions. So if you have a rental, let me know. The price really doesn't, the price will definitely be adjusted for the rental, but let's talk about it. So let me know what you got, Ashley. Just hit me up on email or my phone number, 713-824-0231. You guys can just text me. My turnaround time is within the hour. So if I don't reply within the hour, usually text me. If I don't see the email within the hour, text me if you guys see anything. But other than that, I'm pretty much monitoring things pretty much about every hour.
Could you put your phone number in the chat, please?
Sure.
Could you? Shay's gonna do that for us. What other questions? Any other questions? Well, Lala, thank you.
I got
like
one.
said, we'll bring her. Oh, looks like we got some.
I got one.
Say
Evans,
that again,
speaking.
Evan.
Yes. So bringing on a new client that does not get approved for a home, that scenario, you would assist in transitioning them to an apartment. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, so the transaction part of it. So the transaction part of it pretty much would be where you have the client already signed and you're already speaking with the mortgage company and they pretty much have an approval letter.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So In getting a client approved, do you assist in that aspect as well, or no?
Well, if you would like for me to, I do offer a la carte services. So if we could talk about some customized packages for what you're looking for. Everything, everyone's business is different. We all operate differently. So I definitely want to customize what you're looking for to make your business more efficient. So if that's what you're needing, definitely give me a call.
Thank you.
All right, that's good question. Any other questions?
I just want to say to everyone that basically, as a transaction coordinator, I get paid at the same time you get paid at the end of the deal. And so my job is to get us there. Your job is to get us there. So just know that everything I do is pretty much just like you, free until we get paid. So if it busts out, it busts out for both of us. Okay. It just doesn't bust out for me or you. So we all are invested in getting to the closing table.
Lala say she's just as committed as you. All right, well, Lala, look, thank you so much. We'll bring you back. If y'all have any questions, you have our information in the chat. Also, you can reach out to the office if y'all forget the number or the email if y'all want to get in contact with Lala as well. All right. Thank you, Lala. Thank you, Lala, for the amazing food that you brought. I can't wait till I get able to eat after my presentation. I'm gonna go and eat some of the amazing food that Lala brought here today as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, y'all. Have a good day.
All right, so let's jump into the good stuff.
I hope it's a healthy salad,
me, right?
Michael.
You can hear me? Shay can hear me. I just had to make sure that Shay could hear me.
I hope it's a healthy salad.
No, it's very unhealthy boudin. That's so delicious. And cupcakes.
Cupcakes. Okay.
I'm trying to see what kind of food we got.
You're on mute, coach. Mike, you're on mute.
Thank you, brother. All right, can y'all hear me now? Y'all can hear me? You can hear me? All right, so look, again, today's a broker's word about understanding the market. Before I get started, remember today is also group coaching. So it's a lot of information that I'm going to try to give to you all in about an hour and a half. But I am open to taking it over into group coaching from 2 to 3 and continue to expound upon more of this market conversation. I think this market conversation is critical because we are experiencing a shift. And one of the things that, if you've been in real estate any amount of time, you're starting to see that shifts in real estate are not gradual and they're not slow. Shifts in real estate is like falling off a cliff. At one time, this is what's happening in the market, and then it seems as if like overnight, immediately, it's moved in a completely different direction. So we're going to talk about that today. Before I really jump into it, again, let me introduce myself. I'm Michael G. Davis, aka at CEO Coach Mike. I am a board certified master practitioner of success coaching, neurolinguistics programming, time techniques, emotional freedom techniques, and hypnotherapy. I am the broker and CEO of Brooks and Davis Real Estate Firm, and under our leadership, the company has grown from just two individuals up to 140 plus people, sales agents, and real estate student affiliates. Now, again, super thankful to Lala as she's come on board with Brooks and Davis Signature. Thankful to the Brooks and Davis Signature team as I've been out for a couple of weeks and they've really kept things moving. They've kept growing and moving in the right direction. I also want to shout out our leadership team here at Brooks and Davis Real Estate Firm as they really kept the ship going as well. So kudos to everybody just throughout the organization that's really helping us move to the next level. All right, so I'm again one of those individuals that before I sit down and I listen to somebody, I have to size them up, right? So I'm all about credibility. So in my conversations, I like to do the same. So ask the question like, why should any of you all pay attention to what I'm about to talk about here in the next hour and a half? All right. Well, one of the biggest things is that I've been in real estate for the last 20 years. The people that I've worked with, the people that I've coached and mentored, they have had colossal and continual growth. Through a number of endeavors, I've actually participated in over 1,000 real estate transactions, which has equated to over $200 million worth of real estate sales volume, and counting because we're still doing it. And then over a 3-year period, I've invested tens of thousands of dollars and over 300 academic hours. Now I've just recently graduated from the Goldman Sachs. We got some more people coming in through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business cohort. So, 300 academic hours, no matter what university that you go to or what you've been a part of, I mean, that's typically what it takes to get a doctorate. So when it comes to being an expert, this isn't something that I'm just calling myself. Like I've invested the money and I've invested the time to become an expert in what this real estate thing. My career is and will always be about helping people get to what they want, right? It's about getting a great quality of life, the freedom and flexibility, which is a lot of us got into this business because of the flexibility and the freedom that it provides. I don't know. I know for me personally, what that looks like is the ability to participate in my children's life, going to events, going to moving them from program to program and just not missing out on that experience. That's something that meant a lot to me. Freedom and flexibility may mean something different to you, but what we do know about this real estate and in this career, it does put you in a position to do that. And then finally, ultimately put you in a position to pursue what makes you happy. I think at the end of the day, we're all chasing happiness. Even when you think about the origins of our country and you think about the Declaration of Independence, they even put it in there, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's just from the beginning, that's what we're chasing as people, and I want to help people get there. All right, so with that being said, let's hop into it. Why are we doing this class today? Well, the 87% of real estate agents will fail within their first 5 years. How many people knew that? 87%, right? And the reality is man, that is crazy, and trying to move my thing down. There we go. So 87% of real estate agents will fail in the first 5 years, right? And the reality is that that's who would want to get in a career like that? Like if that's what I have to look forward to, why would I be excited about getting into something like that? But yet still we do. And yet still there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of energy around people. I think Hollywood has done a really good job of framing our business a certain way that has really attracted a lot of people. But the reality is, the truth of the matter is, most people will not make it. So that's only 13% will have a tremendous amount of success. 1 in 9 agents will have a tremendous amount of success. And a lot of it has to do with real estate is hard, right? Real estate is very challenging. A lot of people get into it because they think it's easy. And it is far from that. It is hard, right? So that's why it's important that we have classes like what we're having today to address those things. Because today you're going to learn about what are the key insights to becoming a part of that 13% of those that are making it happen, right? You're going to learn some knowledge and some techniques that you can utilize to make sure that you can have that tremendous success. Also, these next two bullets are very critical. What I believe the biggest gap in why 87% of agents don't make it in over a 5-year period is because realtors don't understand basics of business, right? It's those basic core principles that when they come into this business, they've never been taught and they never employ into their business. So they may learn real estate, right, through the real estate schools or through their brokerages or through HAR or through online. Like all of those areas do great in teaching real estate. But where does a person learn business? And that's what every licensed agent is when they come into this career. They become an entrepreneur, but nobody ever teaches them those core principles. So today we're going to talk about those, the 5 buckets of business. We're going to revisit the basic principles of success, and then we're going to revisit the currencies and the 7 phases to close a deal, right? Then we'll jump into this market update, understanding that. Because there's no point in you understanding the market if you don't understand how to run your business. You can have all the knowledge that you need about the market. You could be the guru of understanding how the real estate market is moving and understand all the trends and be completely tapped in, just be a low-key real estate economist, and you'll still be broke if you don't understand business. So that's why we got to talk about that first. Then we'll look at the 3 types of agents that are in this market, hear a breakdown of the market, see how to use this, your understanding of the market to convert, which is what it's really about. And if we got time, we'll get into the updates for June trainings, lunch presentation, and growth opportunities, and then we'll review the benefits of being a part of Brooks and Davis real estate firm. So now I'm gonna move this thing along pretty quickly. So y'all better put y'all seatbelts on so we can jump into this thing, right? All right. So everybody except for Margaret can answer this question because she always knows the answer. What ultimately must happen for you to make money in this business? I want to hear from somebody else other than Margaret and Shay. Shay can't answer these. Come on.
Yeah,
What?
close the transaction.
Close it. Let's go, Rick. All right. So Rick about to be on the list too of not being able to answer. All right. Ultimately, what must happen to make money in this business is that you have to close a transaction. All right. So the reason that I always start there is because don't get distracted on all the other stuff that's thrown at you as real estate professionals, right? Whether you're looking at Instagram, whether you're going into other trainings, whether you're talking to other agents, when you peel back all the layers, what defines success in this business is closing transactions. So ultimately, that's what must and you closing transactions puts you in a position to where you make money. And no, it's not about the money. It's about what the money does for your quality of life. That's what it's about. It's about what are you able to do with the money that you can't do right now, right? You can't, it may be that you can't take off because, you gotta work this job. Maybe for some of my dual career agents, right? But if you have more money in real estate, then you could leave that job and now you could have more time and more flexibility. It may be that. It may be, man, I really wish I could travel the world, but I can't do that because I don't have the money, right? But now if you had the money and you made the money through real estate, then you would have the ability to now you could go look at Margaret. See, I'm pushing Margaret button. Margaret, like, yes, sir. Right. It may be that you really want to invest to put your children in certain programs so they can get an understanding, right? Like I know for me, like right now we're a baseball family, so we're doing a lot of stuff with baseball for my son. But that stuff costs money and it costs a lot of money. And if I didn't have the money to be able to do that for him, then guess what? As a dad, I that wouldn't make me feel good to be able to tell him that we can't do that because it's money, right? For my son and for my daughter and things of the sort. Like I have a daughter right now, she's going to college. Like, to have to say, baby, you can't go to college because I don't have the money. Yeah. Who wants to experience that, right? So it's not about the money, but it is about the money because it's about what the money can do for quality of life. So ultimately, that's what must happen. That is what must have to happen. Okay, you saw that? Cause she baby, that's what must have to happen. All right, so now let's talk about business, right? This ain't got nothing to do. No. It has everything to do with real estate, but nothing to do with real estate. And what I mean by that is that this is above real estate. This is core business principles, right? So whether you're selling real estate or whether you're selling trinkets, right? Or whether your service is doing massages on the beach, right? Or whether you selling insurance, or whether you have a coffee company, regardless of what the business is, whether it's a daycare, right? I just finished this Goldman Sachs cohort, and I had 18 other CEOs, 18 other different businesses in the room that was going through that program with me, and these principles apply to all 18 of those other businesses, right? So we're talking straight core business principles, right? The first three are the ones that matter. When you start real estate, these are the first three. These are the only three that matter when you first start real estate, right? The very first one is marketing and prospecting, right? You have to have something in place to where you're attracting business. So now when we start talking about our understanding of the market, we're also going to talk about how we can use our understanding of what the market is doing to begin to attract business for our businesses. So that's the point. The point of the conversation, the point of understanding what the market's doing is not just so you can know more, right? It's so you can make decisions, better decisions as it relates to growing your business. Well, what does that look like? That is how are you going to use the information that you learned today to attract more business? That's the connection. How am I going to use this economic forecast, what the National Association of Realtors is projecting, what Realtor.com is projecting, what they've seen over the last 12 months as far as which categories of people are buying, which people are like, how am I going to use that information to position my business to attract from a marketing and a prospecting standpoint? That's the connection, right? And that's the first core business of when you get into real estate. When you get into real estate, really none of the rest of the buckets matter if you're not attracting business. You don't have any business, right? So all new agents, that's the only thing we're focusing on, right? I know a lot of new agents, they want to get in and they want to learn more about the contracts. They want to learn more about paperwork. They want to learn more about the laws. They want to learn more about showing properties. They want to learn more about the listing process. Like they just want to learn, but you ain't got nobody to do any of what you're learning on, right? So that's why the very first bucket is, and the very first bucket of business is marketing and prospecting and what that's going to look like, right? So now once you dig into that and you're marketing, you're attracting business, then we go into the sales bucket, right? Most real estate agents do not have a formalized sales process in place. Now, what we're going to talk about today as it relates to the market doesn't necessarily have much to do. Well, no, it does. Actually, you can use that information and that understanding to frame your sales process. Now, what is sales? Right? Who's courageous enough to try to tell me the difference between marketing and sales? Who want to do it? Don't be shy, y'all.
Marketing is when you're getting information out, trying to get your information out to consumers.
Okay.
Sales is the actual transaction of it.
Okay, so that's Kashin giving hers. All right, Rick, you was gonna say something? What's the difference between marketing and sales?
Marketing is what you do to get the leads, and sales is working the leads and making them a client or a customer.
All right. Well, Rick, you on it today.
Yeah.
Well, Rick came ready. All right. So let's talk about what Kashin said. Let's talk about what Kashin said first. So Kashin, you said marketing is, say it again. What'd you say, Will?
Getting your information out.
Getting your information out. All right. And sales is what?
The actual transaction itself.
Okay. And sales is the actual transaction. All right. So now the actual transaction is operations, right? Because think about it. The actual transaction is you're delivering on what you're promising, right? So that's operations. Now let's talk about getting your information out. That's what you said. All right. So now that's marketing. You're right. That is marketing. So marketing and prospecting is you're doing the work to attract the business, right? So now, okay, well then what's sales? What Rick said, it's the nurturing of the lead, right? See, a lot of agents, we get in this business and we feel like just because a person said they're interested in buying a house, they're also saying, I'm interested in using you, right? Let me say that again. Most agents believe that when a person says, I'm interested in buying a house, they're also saying, I'm interested or I'm going to use you, right? Now, for those of us that have been in this in any amount of time, we understand that when a person says, I want to buy a house, they're not saying that I'm going to use you, right? You have to do something to persuade and influence and convince that person to use you. That's sales. What you do to convince that person to use you to satisfy the real estate need is sales. Okay. Marketing and prospecting gets you to identify people that have a need. So whether it's buying, whether it's selling, whether it's renting, whether it's commercial, your marketing, your prospecting has now made you aware that this person has a real estate need. That's marketing and prospecting. Okay. Sales is what you're going to do now that you're aware that this person has a need, what you're going to do to convince them to use you to satisfy that need. And most agents do not have a formalized process to do that. And that's why they never get to operations, Kashin. They never get to doing the transaction. That's one of the biggest gaps in our business is that most agents don't have a formalized sales process. Because that's not something, sales is not something that you can just do haphazardly. Like you got to be intentional on how you nurture the leads and work the leads to get them to a point to where they're going to want to hire you and do business with you. But guess what? That's in any business. That ain't just in real estate. I gave you the example from a real estate space, right? But think about it. Think about an advertisement. You see something on the TV for Taco Bell, all right. Just because you see that ad for Taco Bell, you may be hungry, but that doesn't mean you're finna go to Taco Bell, right? All Taco Bell is doing is letting you know that if you're hungry, we here, right? But now you can walk into Taco Bell. How many of us have walked into restaurants and was like, you know what, I'm good, and walked out, right? So now the commercial, you know what a Taco Bell is, you've seen it, you know how to get to it, right? But you may walk in the restaurant and you may see a roach on the floor. You gonna go get no, right? They got to work on their sales process. Well, you may walk in there and you was thinking about I'm just gonna get one taco, but then you see this new recipe or something that sparks your thought, and you're like, you know what, man, let me get that. How many of us have done that? We went to a restaurant, we was thinking in our mind we was gonna get this, and then we saw that picture on the screen, and man, that thing was looking good. You know what? And it happened to be like double the price of what you was gonna spend, right? So you ended up buying that. That's sales.
When the McRib come back.
Look at that. Marcus say, when the McRib come back. All right. So we talked about marketing, we talked about sales, and then now operations. That's what most agents equate real estate to. It's the showing the property, searching on the MLS. It's the putting the lock boxes out, putting the signs out, doing the contract, talking to the appraiser, talking to the inspector. Like when I talk to new agents, that's what they talk to me about, operations. They don't talk to me about marketing and sales. They talk to me about operations. And I have to help redirect them to understand that there are two buckets we got to deal with before we even start talking about operations. Right? All right. And then guess what? If we don't get skilled at those three buckets, then the next two buckets don't even matter. That's why I ain't put them in red. Because guess what? If you ain't got your marketing and prospecting where you attracting business, if you still got gaps on convincing people to do business with you, and if you have problems delivering on the service that you offered to get to what Rick said, closing a transaction, if you got gaps in those three buckets, guess what you're not making? Money. And if you ain't making no money, you ain't got to worry about finance. There's no need to understand finance. There's no need to manage expenses. There's no need to do or manage spending if you ain't making no revenue, right? So we ain't even talking about finance. And guess what? If you ain't making no money and if you ain't managing your money properly to where you have excess, then you're not going to be in a position where you can hire people. So you ain't got to worry about human resources, right? But when thinking about business, it's only 5 concepts, 5 buckets. And when it comes to real estate, the only ones that we're worried about initially are just those first three, right? The finance and the human resources stuff don't come into play until you can prove yourself to the marketplace and you truly become a top producing agent. Because then at that point, you got the money coming in because you understand those first three buckets and you don't have any gaps in them. All right. Any questions? Any questions before I move on to the next? Okay, good. All right. And then I'm gonna do this real quick. So we talked about the buckets, and then I also want you all, and if y'all in a position to write it down, because again, it's these basics of business, right? We talk about the 5 buckets. When it comes to the basics, it's really just this: satisfy your customer, manage your spending, beat your competition. Say that again. Satisfy your customer, manage your spending, beat your competition. It's the basics of business. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what, like I said, what service or what product that you're doing. It's those 3. Satisfy your customer, manage your spending, beat your competition. So what I want you to ask yourself as an entrepreneur, as a real estate professional, right? Your service is real estate. What does it look like to you beating your competition? First of all, you got to identify who's your competition, and then how are you going to beat them? How are you going to beat your competition? Now, here's a word that we hear a lot in our market in real estate is having a niche, right? Becoming an expert in a particular area, right? I don't necessarily subscribe to niche now, but what I do subscribe to is a brand. You can brand yourself as an expert in a particular vein, right? Because to me, a niche is all you do is that, right? So if my niche is foreclosures, all I do is foreclosures. So if I get somebody that has a regular sale that they want to sell, I'm not going to do that. Well, now we're going to do that too. But when it comes, so the reason I say brand is that I may brand myself as an expert of foreclosures and short sales, right? So in my marketing and my prospecting, that's the strategy that I use to attract business that's in that vein. In my sales process, I frame my sales process for people that I attract that are in that vein, that speaks to them to get them to say yes to using me, right? That's the brand covers those 2 buckets, right? But if somebody comes into this thing and it's a regular resale or it's a luxury or whatever, anything that's outside of that brand, I'm still going to do it, right? Versus a niche, I'm going to refer that out to somebody, right? So I subscribe to branding, right? The brand is how you can beat your competition. Because when you think about people, if it's a difference between 2 agents and this person is going through a short, well, I'll just stay in that vein. If they're in default to the property or they're having challenges and now it's been recommended that they need to sell their house and they have an option between 2 agents, right? Even if the agents are both qualified to do it, if one of them through their marketing has positioned themselves as an expert in that space and the other one has not, they're just a regular agent, who's that person going to pick? They're going to pick the one that the brand speaks in the messaging. So that's when it comes to real estate. I mean, it's 60,000 realtors in our metroplex. So you could look at all 60,000 of those agents as your competition and then ask yourself, well, how am I going to beat these 60,000? I got to be better at speaking to who I've determined is going to be my customer, right? There's plenty of opportunity out here for people to help, right? We're only, hear what I'm saying. We're only talking about 60,000 licensed agents in a city of 5 million. I'm going to say that again. We're only talking about 60,000 agents in a city of 5 million. You can't tell me that there's not enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody, right? And then we already said 87% of that 60,000 ain't going to be here in 5 years from now. So you can even take it a step further and say, really, the 60,000 ain't my competition. It's just those ones that's figured out how to have that sustainability. Well, so that's my competition. How am I going to beat them, right? The reality is that I may not even need to beat them because, again, it's enough out there for everybody, all right? Manage your spending. That's really going to come into play. That's a very important key, but that's, again, not going to come into play until you start making some money. And then satisfy your customer, right? You absolutely got to satisfy your customer because if you don't satisfy your customer, what they're going to do? They're going to leave, and what else? Talk about you. Right. So when you, at least you got to satisfy them so they don't talk about you. I'm not even saying blow their socks off. I'm not saying make them a Raven fan. I'm not even saying that, right? Because if you blow their socks off and they become a Raven fan, then what they gonna do?
Talk about you good.
They gonna talk about you good, right? But at least you don't want to talk about you bad. So you gotta satisfy them, right? So that's like the bare bar, that's the bare minimum. All right. Any questions? All right. Make sure y'all writing this stuff down. All right. So last thing before we jump into the meat and potatoes. Is it the last thing? No, it's not the last thing. But 6 currencies, I'm gonna go through this. This is something that I talk about a lot as well. For new agents, a lot of them feel like they can't do something because they don't have money. Even some of my seasoned agents, they feel like they can't do something because they don't have money. And the reality is that you have other currencies that you can utilize to get you to what you're looking to do. Let me try to say that again. All right. So at the end of the day, a currency is something that you use to transact, right? So I give you something, you give me something back, right? I need something, right? So for me to get you to give me that, I'm gonna give you this. So we use money in many instances. You can give somebody some money and they're gonna give you what it is you're looking for. All right. But there are other things that you can give to somebody to get what you're looking for, right? You can, and the most important one is time, right? So we think about real estate. If what we're looking for out of real estate is money, like we're looking to get money out of real estate. If I don't have money to invest into real estate, but I want to get money out of real estate, well, what I do have, what everybody has, and everybody has an equal amount of it, is time. You invest your time into it, and that time turns into money. You get a return on investment of your time. Most new agents don't connect the dots with that. The reason that you're not making enough money in real estate, the reason that you're not making the kind of money that you want to make in real estate is because you're not investing enough time. Nobody comes into this business with money. None of us came into real estate with money. Nobody. I don't care what your circumstances were. None of us came into this business with money in our pocket. I definitely did not come into this business with money in my pocket. All right. The way I got to where I got now is because when I first got into this business, I invested a whole lot of time into this business. All right. So time is the most important currency that new agents have when they're investing into it. Now, when you've been in it for some time, agents that want to go to the next level, the next currency they got to tap into is their relationships. This is an aha moment that I had to have for myself. I was pouring a lot of time and investing a lot of time into the business, but I still wasn't hitting up where I was trying to hit. And the reason was because I wasn't truly leveraging my relationships. Once you've been in this business a certain amount of time, you've built relationships, whether they're past clients, whether they're friends, family, sphere of influence, right? You can utilize those relationships, especially in real estate, to help you get a return, which is money, right? It's all about how you approach it. I know at Brooks and Davis, we talk about top 50. The top 50 strategy from a prospecting standpoint, all that is you leveraging your relationships to get transactions closed, to get referrals, and to get business. That's you leveraging your relationship. And it don't cost you nothing to call nobody. It don't cost you anything to send a text. It don't cost you anything to go grab coffee. Because guess what? There's been plenty of times I invited somebody to coffee and they paid for it. Right. So it costs my time and that relationship. Right. And then knowledge, ideas. Look, you guys participate in things like our trainings, the broker's word, the coaching, like you're gonna get knowledge. What we're gonna talk about with the market update, you're gonna get knowledge and you'll be able to use that knowledge to transact. People pay, how many of y'all know people pay you for what you know? And what you all need to start doing is you need to start positioning yourself when you're talking to your clients to get them to understand the reason you're paying me this commission is because of what I know, right? You're paying me for my time, right? Because I'm gonna invest this time into satisfying your real estate need. You're paying me for my relationships because I've been doing this. I know people that you don't know, right? Because you don't do real estate. I do real estate. So I have relationships that you don't have. And you're paying me to have access to those relationships. I have a knowledge that you don't have because this isn't what you do. But you're paying me to get access to my knowledge. With the knowledge that I've gained, I have ideas of how we're going to achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve. You're paying me to have access to those ideas. right? We ain't even got to reputation and money. So now realtors for the longest time have had a hard time communicating their value proposition to people. That's because they can't have this conversation. My value proposition is not the fact that I can open a house for you. That's not why I'm a real. That's not what's valuable. But most real estate agents, that's what they limited themselves to. I'm just a glorified door opener. And they can't articulate past that. And because they can't articulate past that, everybody started losing their mind when it came to this NAR settlement. And when it came to, oh, now the buyer's agents got to talk to the buyers and tell them that they got to pay. Well, they don't understand their value, what they bring to the table, right? But not Brooks and Davis agents, because I just told y'all what it is, right? So y'all just need to write it down and understand. And now you need to begin leveraging your other currencies when it comes to your business and understanding your value. And if you do it long enough, then you'll have a reputation. And then you can use that reputation. Oh, people use me because of who I am, right? I was on the phone with, somebody today, and the only reason they called us because of my reputation in the business and performance, right? And then the last one is money. So we ain't even got to get to the money. You can spend your money on other stuff. You ain't got to spend your money in your business, especially not first coming into it. You ain't got no money to spend no way. But this is not understanding this is why most agents don't make it in the beginning. All right. All right. So we're finna pivot now. We're finna talk about the market. So I've given y'all business principles. I've given y'all business concepts, and y'all need to work to employ those into you. And I'm gonna continue to reiterate that over and over and over and over and over again, because y'all got to get that if you're gonna be successful in real estate. You got to understand business. All right. But let's talk about the market. All right. So now there are three types of agents in the market that we're in right now. Right. The first agent is the one that's waiting for it to change. That's the first agent, right? If you can write it down, write it down. Because I need you to figure out which one of these agents that you are. All right. So there are three kind of agents that's in this market. The first one is the one that's waiting for it to change. I got into real estate in 2004. I had my best year at the time in 2006. The market busted out in 2007. Okay. I got licensed in 2004. I had the best year that I ever had in 2006. And that's also the year I became a broker. And then in 2007, the market shifted and busted. Well, it didn't bust out, but it shifted. Right. So now it took me at that time 2 years to figure out what happened. 2 years. And guess what I did for that 2 year period? The exact same thing I did in 2006. I didn't change anything that I was doing in 2007, 2008, 2009. Did the exact same thing, right? Why? Because what I did in 2006 worked, right? So I was just waiting for things to change. I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing. I'm waiting for things to change. Now, luckily for me, I didn't fall off. Luckily, because guess what? In 2000, when I realized what a shift in market was, and that the market has shifted, I shifted. At the time, no, I didn't have anybody having these conversations with me. Between that 2 year period, I didn't have anybody talking to me about a shifting market. Or maybe they were, and I just didn't see it, right? But I feel like I didn't necessarily have anybody to really articulate and explain it. All right. And just like in 2007, it shifted quick. 2006 and 2007 were two completely different years. And just like we in 2005, and I got a couple of slides that speak to that, 2002, right? 2003, completely different from 2004 and 2005, right? It shifted quick. It's like falling off a cliff. Well, there's that. Don't be the agent that's waiting around for change. Because if you're waiting around and you don't never get it, you're going to fall off. All right. The second one is the one complaining about it. Right. So the first one is the one waiting for it to change. They're going to fall off. They're going to get out of it. They're going to go back to work. And we already starting to see people is not renewing them licenses. They is not paying them trek fees. They're not paying them HAR dues. They is going back and getting a job. They falling off. The one complaining about it. Guess what? The one complaining about it, they broke. They ain't got no money. Right? Because complaining, which one of my 5 buckets of business was complaining?
No.
Right. Which one of my basics of which currency is complaining? We got complaining on the screen? No. Complaining don't get you nothing. They're broke. Right? So the first agent is the one waiting, the second agent is the one complaining, and the third agent, and this the one that I hope that y'all are, that I'm working to train y'all to be, is the one that's adapting to it. That's what this market conversation is about. I'm revealing this information, right? I'm giving you all access to the knowledge and the ideas so you all can take it so you can adapt what you're doing in this market, which is what I didn't have between 2000 and 2007 and 2009. I didn't have anybody not just giving me the information, but also telling me how to use it to adapt to how the market has moved, which is what we're going to do today, right? So I'm offering you all now, why am I offering you all my currencies? Because y'all are part of Brooks and Davis. Y'all my peeps. That's why y'all pay me the big bucks, right? So I can give y'all my knowledge and my ideas. Now, a lot of what I'm gonna share with you, I just spent a week in Washington, D.C. at the National Association of Realtors legislative meetings. And I attended a session, and a number of my slides you'll see, they had the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. So he's giving his perspective on what's happened over the we'll say a 5-year window, right? Looking at the last 2 years and looking forward the next 2 years, right? And then we also had the chief economist for realtor.com, billion-dollar real estate, billion-dollar company, right? They do stats. Their chief economist spoke as well. So we're gonna talk through that. So that's how we're gonna frame our conversation around understanding the market. And then we're also going to look at what HAR has presented, because they presented some things. Okay. All right. So the one waiting for change, the one complaining, the one adapting. Which one are you gonna be?
The one adapting.
You better. Because at Brooks and Davis, I ain't got room for the one that's waiting for the market to change. And Brooks and Davis, I definitely ain't got room for the one that's complaining. I don't want to hear it. Right? The only one I have room for, and that's the decision that each and every one of y'all have to make. I'm going to be the one that's going to adapt, and I'm going to help you get that. I'm going to help you get there. Right? Everything that we do when it comes to Brooks and Davis is designed around developing you as that third kind of agent. All right. So now, once again, with the knowledge and with the ideas, how are we going to use that market understanding to convert, right? So now I already talked earlier, you're really going to apply what we're talking about in your understanding of the market. And it doesn't just stop here with this conversation. Like, you have to constantly be looking to see what the market is doing. Because like I said before, it'll just fall off in an instant, right? So you got to constantly be looking. Well, the way that you're going to use it is you're going to use it to be able to control the conversation when it comes to people that you've attracted. This needs to be a part of your sales process. Your understanding of the market needs to be a part of your sales process. When you're talking to customers, I'll say prospective clients, because I want you to see them as prospective clients. Everybody that you talk to needs to be seen as a prospective client. When you're talking to prospective clients, you need to be the smartest person in the room. If you can explain to somebody what's happening, guess what happens? You gain trust. We know that this is a trusting business, right? Especially in our community, in the Black community. It's all about trust. Well, the way that you gain trust the quickest is you being able to explain what's happening. So that's why you have to constantly understand and have your thumb on the pulse of what's going on in this market, so you can position yourself as the expert. You can control the conversation, you can gain people's trust, and then guess what? People are not only going to use you, they're going to refer you to their friends, their family, and everybody else. So we use this to attract more business, right? And then we also use it to convince people through our sales process to hire us to satisfy their real estate need, right? All right. Then we also need to understand, and we need to understand what the market is doing. So I know in some ways they call it objection handling. I'm not going to call it objection handling, right? And objection handling is somebody has an objection to something, and then you have a fancy or a way to maneuver around it. Okay. I don't, me personally, it seems manipulative. That's my personal stance on it, right? I know it's not manipulative. It just feels that way. I don't know why. It does. It feels salesy, right? What I want to say is let's have scripts and verbiage to help people reframe their thought process, right? Let's do that. So for me, objection handling techniques that I subscribe to are the ones that help somebody see things differently than what they see, right? Because what are we hearing a lot of right now? People talking about the interest rates, right? Interest rates are high, that's why I don't want to buy. Okay. But if you could help somebody reframe that thought process, right? Whether the interest rates are high or whether the interest rates are low, you're going to have to pay somebody to live somewhere, period. So now the difference between renting and owning is you're positioning yourself to build wealth. You're positioning yourself to participate in this vehicle that we call appreciation, right? So what needs to happen and what understanding of the market will allow you to do is it will allow you to educate people. See, most people, the reason that they're making the decisions that they're making is because they have bad information, right? So what you want to do is you want to come in there, you want to give them better information, right? Yeah, interest rates are high, but if we go into this new home builder community, they're gonna buy your rate down to interest rates that were lower than the pandemic. That's a whole nother conversation, right? But if a person says the interest rates are high and you just leave it at that, at some point they're gonna do business with the agent that knew how to handle that conversation. So that's why understanding the market and understanding how to respond to people based off of their objections can be helpful to your business. But you're not going to be able to do that if you don't understand the market, right? All right. And then the last one is speak to the motivation, not the money. Because we're going to say, I don't have the money to do it. All right. But there's a lot of the people that don't have the money to do it, they're on the sidelines, right? But in this kind of market, you still have people that have no choice. You still have people changing jobs. You still have people because of family needs. I was on the phone, literally, I was on the phone with somebody today, and the reason that they want to sell their house is because there was a tragic circumstance happen, and now when they go in that house, all they do is remember, and they don't want to feel like that no more. They want to sell it, right? Um, Job people still being relocated, right? People still having kids and they ain't got enough space. So speak to the motivation. Why do you want to sell or why do you want to buy? Right? Understand the motivation and then use that. Take your knowledge of the market and then use that to speak to their motivation, not the money. It's never about the money. Okay. And if it is about the money, go find somebody else that is not about the money because you'll have an easier time of being able to do business with those people. All right. So let's talk about the market. Let's look at some slides. Oh, we missed that one. I ain't talk about that one. All right. So the first thing is we ran out of time. I'll talk about that in group coaching. All right. The first thing is I want y'all to get comfortable with the Houston Association of Realtors. Now, guess what? Y'all pay for it. Use it. Houston Association of Realtors got a lot of stuff. Okay. And they have a lot of stuff that you can use. It's a tool. So this is the thing with HAR. Most people don't leverage everything that HAR provides is because they don't know how to, right? Nobody's teaching people how to use HAR, all right? This is just one aspect of how to use HAR as it comes to our understanding of the market, right? How many of us have heard that, hey, real estate is local. It's all about local. Well, we're blessed to be in a marketplace that has an association that does an amazing job of capturing data and positioning it to help us understand what's going on a constant basis. Every month, if you follow them on Instagram, you should follow them on Instagram, you'll be able to get this market update. that quickly tells you what's the average sales price, right? How many single family homes sold, and how many months inventory that we are. And then it has the production, and then it shows you year over year. So just that knowledge alone you can control the conversation when you're talking to somebody that's interested in selling their house, right? So, or think about it. If you're working with a buyer and say their price point is 200,000, but what they say they have champagne taste on a beer budget, right? Well, if this is telling us the average house in the Houston Metroplex is $437,000, that's average. So that means if you're looking at a $200,000 house, your house is below average. So you can't have the expectations that you feel like this is across the market. This isn't me saying this. This is what the association and this is what the market is saying. Here's a quick way for you to get a market update. All right. That link right there, you should take that link down as well, because that link takes you to show this to you. It go because the information on Instagram, you can see how that says April. So it's a couple of months behind. But if you want up-to-date information, you go to this link. And it gives you weekly activity snapshots. Weekly. They have a report called the Fresh Report. And this is a monthly report. They have the monthly housing report, and then it'll tell you when it's been updated. See, look, this was last updated today. Here's the monthly rental market update. It was last updated May 21st. You got the 10 hottest communities. You got affordability reports. So you have all of this fresh information that you can tap into. So if you don't do nothing else but go to this at least once a month, you ain't never gonna have a problem understanding what your local market is doing. You're gonna always be able to see what your local market is doing. So you got to create that habit and that trend of staying up to date. And this is the best way. I don't see any better way for you to achieve staying on top of what's happening in your local market than going to this link and looking at these reports, reading these reports. All right. So you want to take advantage of HAR and the things that it's saying. You want me to, well, it's right here. That's this link.
Yeah, okay.
You got it?
I think I have it.
All right. All right. So here's some of the things that I learned at the National Association of Realtors Conference. All right. Now, they talked a lot about buyer demand. So even though retail buyers, they're saying that retail buyers are on the sidelines because of the affordability piece, because of the interest rates, because of the uncertainty of what's happening in the White House and the federal government and the tariffs and everything that they're reading on the news, and it's creating this environment of fear and concern, so they don't want to do it. They're very hesitant. Even with all of that, people still want to buy. So what that's doing is, and what they talked about at the conference, is that it's creating a pressure, right? You got all this pent up demand of buyers wanting to buy, but they're not going to do it because they're afraid. Well, at some point, they're not going to be afraid no more. And when they're not afraid, when that that perception changes, it's believed that it's going to be a rush of people flooding into the market, a rush of buyers flooding into the market. So right now there's demand that's being pent up. So what do you do with that information? Well, what that means, if you think that there's going to be an influx of buyers that's about to hit the market, how should you position yourself as a real estate professional to be able to take advantage of an influx of buyers coming into the market? Right? Well, in my opinion, you better have access to stuff for them to buy. Right? because the way that you attract buyers is through having houses. There's a lot of people out there that, oh, when you're ready to buy, use me. When you're ready to buy, call me. That ain't what I do to attract buyers. I say, hey, this house for sale. It only costs, you can get into this house for as low as blah, blah, blah. You can get in this house, and when you get this house, you get this kind of interest rate, and this is how much you'll be paying. That when you have credit issues, this is how you get your credit. Here's a company that can work with you, get you. Like, that's how you attract buyers, right? How else can you take advantage of this buyer built up demand? Is become a home buyer readiness expert. Become a home buyer readiness expert. What that means is that there are people that are able to buy right now and they don't even know it, right? There are people that are able to buy right now and they think they're not. There are people that are not able to buy, but guess what? You can help them get ready to buy. Well, if you position yourself as a home buyer readiness person, professional, consultant, expert, whatever you want to call it, you're going to touch all three of those people. You're going to attract all three of those people. They're going to call you. The one that can buy and don't know it, they're going to call you. If you're saying, hey, look, let me help you see. Let me put you in contact with some of my relationships, currency. Let me put you in contact with some of my resources, knowledge. I know things that you don't know, right? Let us talk about a strategy that I've used with somebody else that may work for you. Ideas, right? We're using our other currencies to attract the people that are in this pent-up buyer demand trend that's happening nationally, right? And again, this stuff came from the Chief Economist, National Association of Realtors, the Chief Economist, Realtor.com. That's where these slides came from. All right. So this one right here, they interview the renter. Let's make sure my people online can see it. Yeah. All right. So the slide that says renter survey, pretty much they surveyed a bunch of renters, and over close to 50% of the people that they interviewed strongly prefer owning. These are renters. To a question that me and Rick D, we were talking about that today, about renters and why people don't buy. Well, guess what? 50% of them strongly prefer to buy. So that means in their mind, something going on. They want to do it. But if you position yourself as a solution, boom, look at that opportunity that you have for you. All right. Now, this right here, share of consumers expecting a recession within 1 year. So this past year, close to, if you can't see, it's like a little less than 65% of consumers expect a recession. But of those 65%, 30% still said that the recession would make them more likely to buy. So, yeah, we're hearing the news is saying people, because of the recession, the oncoming recession, people not gonna buy, but there's still a large amount that will. That the recession don't matter. It don't mean nothing. That middle bar, the longest bar, the one that's in the middle, that says the recession will have zero impact on if they buy or not. So most people don't even care about the recession, and it's not going to impact things. Again, those are national numbers. All right. So let's look at this one. All right. Here's another opportunity, just so you can put this in perspective. Mortgage rate, mortgage payments. How many of y'all knew mortgage payments have doubled since COVID? I mean, that's a 5-year period that the average mortgage payment has doubled. You think that'll make some people afraid to buy?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It'll make some people afraid to buy. This is where you got to come in and you got to help people reframe their minds. Okay? Because I did not add it into my presentation today, but I did see slides where it showed although mortgage payments have doubled over the last 5 years, wages have still outpaced mortgage payments. So that means even though people are paying more for their mortgages, people are making more money than they made pre-COVID. Now, it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't feel like it. But people are able to afford these higher mortgage payments. They just don't think they are. They probably just need some counseling and some assistance on managing their finances. They probably just need some budgeting advice. So it's really not an issue of do they make enough money? It's more an issue of do you understand financial literacy? Right? So now you can position yourself like that. You got high credit card debt. You want to help with saving. You want to help with budgeting. You position yourself and you start educating and helping people in that vein. You're going to identify some people that now can buy houses, right? You partner that with your understanding of new home builders that are buying down interest rates, and now you're selling more units. You're brokering those two categories. We're talking opportunity. So there's opportunity there, right? So yeah, the mortgage payment has doubled, and people are gonna say, I can't afford it. But you can ask them this question. Well, over the last 5 years, have you gotten a raise? Because 9 times out of 10, they've gotten a raise. Over the last 5 years, you're working since COVID, things have changed where you probably don't have to go to the office every day like you did prior to COVID. So there should be some expenses that you were able to save from not having to make that commute. Has that happened? Right? So then you start helping people see that there are areas that changes that they can make to where they can afford and seeing the value. So as agents, we got to become better at being able to articulate that. Oh, I did that one already. Okay. Existing home sales. So remember, I was talking about the, the shift, right? So here's a great graphic to see what a shift looked like. So you got 2022, but then look at 2023 and 2024. You got 2021. So you see over a 2-year period, just look at the difference between 2023 and 2021. Right? Just imagine that. So just like imagine in your mind over a 2-year period, that dramatic of a drop. See, shifts don't happen slowly. They happen fast. So we saw it in 2022 and we felt it in 2023. And we still feeling it in 2024. They said it's 2 of the most difficult years ever. Right?
Yeah.
That said, 2 of the most difficult years. Well, we'll say 2 of the most difficult years since 2019. Let's say that. All right. All right. So that's one example. All right. Also look at the line graph. The line graph portrays it as well. And this is recent monthly existing home sales. And it's not showing that it's recovering. So we're flatline. So this is going into 2025. And it may go into 2026. So what does that mean? Stop tripping. It ain't about to change. If you're one of those agents that's waiting for it to change, it ain't changing. So you either got to adapt or you're going to fall off. It's not changing. Okay? This is where we are. Now, guess what? There's still opportunity. It doesn't matter. There's still opportunity for you to make money if you approach the business the right way. 7 phases. Oh, that's showing up. Is that my last slide? No, Conchita, where the rest of the slides? Conchita, where the rest of the slides?
Can you touch it? It's already there. Hold on.
All right, let me refresh. I had Conchita working on the slides. There we go. All right. So it was the computer. Thank you, Sharita. All right. So let's talk about. I mentioned earlier. I mentioned a lot about short sales. I mentioned a lot about foreclosures, right? Because I feel like that's the opportunity that we're coming into, or not coming into. We're in it. I've had multiple conversations with people about this already. So I'm 100% sold. And now you can see this here, right? We are about to have opportunities when it comes to working with people that are having financial struggles keeping their house. We have opportunity there with those people. Okay. The reason I'm saying that is look at 2020, Q1, 2020, that was COVID. At that time, 3 months late or in foreclosure, FHA loans, that's the red line. The blue line is everything else. There was a big spike in that, right? All right. And then in the first quarter of 2022, so that's a 2-year period, there's a dramatic decline in that. What do you think contributed to that decline over that 2-year period? If you had to guess,
What was the year?
2020, 2022.
COVID?
Well, COVID 2020, which probably caused what? The delinquency. All right. But then in 2022, all those delinquencies went away. Okay. Now, between 2020 and 2022, do you think it's because then people sold them houses? We ain't really seen that kind of stuff happening.
Forbearances.
All the forbearances, all the deferments, all the we'll put it to the back end, all the I will just don't pay for this amount. So all of that happened in 2022. All right. So now you see 2024. What you think is contributing to that? What you think contributing to it starting to go up or trending up based on what we see?
All those forbearances.
All of them coming due. Hey, we can't give you no more time. You got to pay now. Or your mortgage rate is going back to what it was. Right? And you didn't do right with getting yourself together. So this is why I'm saying we about to that's coming into the market because all of this stuff is now becoming due and people gonna need help and people gonna need to. So now the way that you approach this trend in the market is you position yourself as a consult. Let me help guide you through this. So it's not, let me sell your house. It's let's talk to see what are your options. Because people here, they're looking for options. They're not looking to sell their house. They want to keep it. They're looking for options. The only way that we get to the point to where we have to sell it is where we've exhausted all what? Options. We've exhausted all the other options. And as long as you've gone with them through that process of really looking into all the options that they may have access to, and we've gotten to the point to where we can't use any of those options, and the only other option is for us to do a short sale, who you think they're going to use to do it? You. So that's how you position yourself. You got to position yourself as I'm coming in to help prepare. That's a common thing that y'all should start catching. You have to position yourself as a person that can help people get ready for something, right? That's the value. I can help consult you and get you ready for something, whether that's to buy. So I have access to relationships, resources, knowledge, and information around making sure that you're prepared for this. Same thing here. I have relationships, knowledge, I have expertise, resources around seeing if I can solve this problem for you when it comes to your house. Because guess what? Some people you're going to be able to help. You're going to offer them an option. They're going to move forward with that option. It has nothing to do with you selling that house, right? And you may not even get paid for it.
That part.
But what do you think is going to come from it though?
I recommend referrals.
Come on, man. I got some of my best referrals from somebody that I didn't get paid for, but I offered them such a tremendous amount of value. So now everybody they sending to me because you built that trust. And that trust, look, we talked about currency, right? Money is one currency, but now you got a relationship that's sending you people, right? That relationship is more valuable than whatever commission you would have made if you sold their house. You see what I'm saying? So we got to start looking at, we got to put money in its proper place as a currency, right? If we can build that kind of relationship with somebody because we've made a life-changing impact, come on, man. You're going to get a whole lot of money out of that. And you're going to get other relationships, other opportunities, right? So that's what's going on here. So that's why I say there's opportunity with the pent-up buyer demand. There's opportunity with the delinquent and the mortgages. So if you want to be on the listing side and you really want to kind of catapult into listings, there's opportunity there to help people. All right. We're in Texas. As you can see, Texas is still attracting a lot of people, right? So what does this mean? This means that there are still people that are relocating here from other areas that have cash. There are people that are relocating here, and this says international. So there are people from other countries that are now. Do y'all think they're moving to Texas?
No, I think they're investors.
Investors. So there's another opportunity that you have. So now think about it. If you have these, you have people. We've exhausted all the other options. The only thing we have left is we have to sell, right? And if we go through the short sale process, the bank's going to sell it below market value. Then you have these international people that they're only relying on your local knowledge, right? Because they can only get so much information off Google. They can only get so much information off ChatGPT. You're the local expert, right? On the data. If you can't outdo Google, if what you know is the same thing Google know, and what you know is the same thing ChatGPT know, you're gonna lose, right? So you have to know more than those vehicles when it comes to your local market, and you have to be able to articulate that. Okay. Now, if you have these international investors and all they know and they believe and trust your understanding of your market, and you have these properties, again, now we're marrying, right? See, so today we're talking about how we can take segments and we can marry them together to create transactions, because that's how you make money off transactions. But now we got to figure out how to make we're making them. Like, we're not waiting on people to bring stuff to us. We're creating transactions. That's what we got to get to. And what I'm saying is, and hopefully you all take this away, there's plenty of opportunity in this market. As much as everybody is saying about the market, like, again, the people waiting to change and the people complaining. What we're talking about today is adapting. Like, there's so much opportunity in this market that we can adapt to and that we can capitalize on. And a lot of y'all can probably make more money in this market than people are saying is a down market. Y'all can make more money in this market than you've ever made in your life in real estate if you adapt the right way, right? And in 2007, I didn't have anybody to tell me that. 2008, I didn't have nobody to tell me that, right? So those were the worst times I've ever had in real estate. But if I'd have had somebody to tell me, now looking back, I know how I could have made that the best year that I've ever had in real estate. But I didn't know what to do. That's why we're talking about it today. All right. So Texas still at the top of the list as far as traffic, international buyers, and things like that. So those investors. All right. And this is through Q1 of 2025. Okay. So let's talk about home building. Now, what this map says is that, and this is from realtor.com, Texas is green. It's really green. Green is we got the top rate of building activity compared to other states. So green is you at the top, red is you at the way bottom. So them other states like the Midwest, the East Coast, they're not building nothing. Texas, we doing a lot of building. New construction, right? New construction, a lot of building. We're A+. We at the top of the list, right? To the point of realtor.com is doing a national campaign saying that other states need to do more building. They need to but they feel like it's because of the different regulations and ordinances and things like that are preventing builders to go into those markets and build at a particular scale. We don't have any problems in Texas. We don't have any problems in Houston. All right. So what does that mean? What does that mean that we have down here? We have inventory. We have inventory, right? So we already talked about the buyer demand. We got people that want to buy houses. They just don't know how to do it. Well, one of the ways that we can do it here in Texas is we connect them to one of these builders that's buying down the interest rate and making it affordable for the people. Or we can connect with a D.R. Horton who has a program that you can plug people into that helps with their credit, that helps with them saving money, that helps put them in a position of where they can buy. And D.R. Horton, if the circumstances are right with the person, they'll let them go ahead and put a contract on a house. So now you just got money in the bank waiting. Those people are there. And Texas is in a good spot because we have a lot of new construction inventory that we can capitalize off of. That's what this stuff is saying. I'm showing you all this data because I want y'all to understand that I'm not just getting this stuff, I'm not pulling this stuff out the sky. I'm taking what the market is doing and I'm sharing with y'all how we're going to use it to grow our businesses and make this year the best year ever. This is our situation here in Texas. These are the opportunities that we have access to. We just have to execute. So that's what the green is saying, that our state report card as it relates to building, we're at the top. We have a lot of inventory and we have the environment or the conditions that afford us the ability to do the amount of building that we're doing. Okay. All right. Again, this continues to echo what I'm saying. The red line is new homes. The blue line is resales. Which line going up? Which line going down?
Red line,
The red line doing what?
going up,
Going up. The blue line doing what?
going down.
Going down. So when it comes to inventory, who got the inventory?
The builder.
The builder. So if I have a buyer, should I be talking about resale homes? Should I be talking about showing resale homes? If I got a buyer, Shay, I got a buyer, should I be talking about resale homes?
I got some visuals I wanna do.
Right. Should I be talking about resale homes? I got a buyer?
No.
No. All we talking about is new homes. Because it's a whole bunch of inventory. It's a whole, and with a whole lot of competition, what that mean for the buyer? We in the best spot to negotiate. We get the best deal. Like this, the best environment for buyers is the new construction side. So that's all we talking about. So if a buyer comes to me with some properties that because they send y'all properties, you sending me these resale, I'm laughing. No, stop it. We ain't even looking at them. Like that's what I'm telling them. Girl, stop it. We about to get something brand new. What you doing? Why would you buy something old when you get something new? And it's cheaper. It got better terms. No, we ain't even considering nothing resale right now. Right? So now I may not be contributing to the problem, right? For the resales, right? But I'm telling my resale sellers, don't sell right now. Don't do it. Because this is not, look at the screen. This ain't the environment you want to be in.
It changed fast too.
Quick. You see? Boom. That thing shot up. As a resale buyer, why would I want to be on the market when they have all these new houses for sale? Why would I want to be in that? No, you better rent it out. You better rent it out. And that's about to be a problem because the new builders, they rent their houses now. Right. So it's tough. It's tough for the resale buyer right now. I mean, the resale seller. It's tough. But guess what? We got to be the ones courageous enough to tell them that. We got to be honest with them with the environment that they're trying to get into. It's a tough environment.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Are these for the medium value homes? Or the average price homes?
I think it covers all. Yeah, so it's just the whole gambit. And then probably based off the whole gambit, this is what you're hitting. Now, my experience tells me that the bulk of it is probably going to be in that median price range, right? So like in Houston, the average home was 471, right? So I would think between 350 and 500,000, there's probably a lot of new construction inventory. You see what I'm saying? Because it's around that median price range. I'd even say I maybe go down to 300. So between 300 and 500,000 is probably where you're having the biggest problem with new home stuff. I mean, with resale properties, with resale, right? Now, guess what? There are builders out there that are figuring out a way to build at the $200,000 and $250,000 price point. So now, from a resale standpoint, now that thing's spreading out, right? And then also, there are builders, because they're buying the rates down the way that they're buying them down, more people are now going to be able to afford that $300,000 house that they wouldn't be able to afford for the resale on their interest rate, right? And now that's just based on my expertise. Now, even with the inventory the way it is, that bottom line is talking about there's still a 4 million, close to a $4 million inventory gap, meaning that there's close to 4 million more people that want to buy than there's enough inventory in the market. So there's still a deficit, right? So that means builders can't build fast enough. Even though they got all of this inventory already in the marketplace, they're not going to be slowing down anytime soon because there's still a $4 million gap of people wanting to buy and in a position to buy. So new home sales right now, them the ones when it comes to relationship currency, what you really need to be building as far as your relationships in this market is with who? New home builders, sales counselors, builders. They're getting a whole lot of traffic. All right. Younger households, it talked about how the home ownership rate has slipped. So that means younger people are not buying like they used to. Younger people are not buying, right? Under 35, 40%, and going down. It's having a more dramatic decrease. That's that bottom line. So you need to take that into consideration as far as people's ages, as far as trying to convince people, as far as the demographic that you're attracting. You got all these realtors that's trying to get on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, what age group are you talking to?
The 30s.
The 35.
Are they buying?
I'd say no.
So is TikTok the medium I probably need to be on? Okay. Instagram. Is that really, I mean, we talk about it, but is that really the medium that I probably need to be on? Where social media wise, where I need to be on? Facebook. I need to be on Facebook, right? I need to be on LinkedIn. That's where I need to be. But nobody having these conversations because every day I hear I need somebody to help me with my TikTok. I need to get on TikTok. I need to do this with TikTok. I'm not on Instagram, but I need to do better with my social media on Instagram and TikTok. No, you don't need to do anything with TikTok. And you don't need to do anything with Instagram because them babies is not buying right now. All right. Now, if you want to be an apartment locator, if you want to put them in the rental, but a lot of them going to live with their parents. Right? So that ain't really where you want to be. But that's why you got to have the information and the data because it helps with the decision making. And a lot of real estate agents don't have good data. And the brokers, unfortunately, we not giving the agents good data. And because they don't know no better. They don't. You know what I'm saying? Oh, was that the last one? I think that was the last one. Okay. So I gave y'all a lot. What are our takeaways from today? Let's talk about it. Somebody give me some takeaways for my last 9 minutes.
Go ahead.
There's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, looking into those opportunities for the short sales and foreclosures.
Okay.
Sure.
It's time to adapt and adjust.
Okay. All right. So I want everybody to give me a specific thing that you're going to do in your business to make sure this is one of the best years that you've ever had, based off of what was just presented to you today. We'll start with Kashin.
I'm gonna get my expertise up on short sales.
Okay. All right. So she gonna go the short sale foreclosure route. Expert. And what I would do, Kashin, is honestly, I wouldn't even worry about the foreclosure. I would just focus on the short sale route. Because short sale is about preventing foreclosure. Once they're foreclosed on, then that's a whole nother dynamic, right? Then you got REO, you got to build relationships with asset managers, you got to see kind of what their process is to receive the foreclosures. Then there's requirements to where you have to maintain the property until the sales, and that's on your dime. You got to get the utilities turned on. So short sales, right? We want to become the person that helps people keep their houses and prevent when they're in financial strains as far as possibly losing their house. We want to help them keep it. Then that's going to get your phone to ring. That's going to get people that may possibly become listings for you. You start having those conversations and start work through offering options, right? Okay, so that's what Kashin is going to do. You go next, Ed.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm gonna definitely tap into the short sales, but I was looking into new home sales.
Okay, so you're gonna work the new homes.
Yes, I want to get into doing open houses at new homes and inviting, making it a learning session by advertising it that way and marketing to people at the
Okay.
same time.
All right, good. So you're gonna, when it comes to relationship currency,
Mhm.
right? You need to go out there and build as many relationships as possible with what?
With builders,
More
with
specifically, the sales counselors, bro.
yeah, like the sales counselors. I
Sales
mean,
counselors.
yeah, sales counselors. Yes,
Sales counselors, because those are the ones they're the ones every day engaging with people that are interested in buying a new house. And guess
right,
what? There's a number of those sales counselors that don't have a sales process, right?
right.
Meaning the people come through the door. See, that's the thing about sales counselors, they don't have to do marketing and prospecting. Who does the marketing and prospecting for them? Yeah,
The builder,
agents, the builder,
the
right?
builder.
Right. So they don't have to do anything, but even though they don't have to do anything with the marketing and the prospecting, they don't have a sales funnel. They don't have a sales process. So that means there's a lot of stuff that's falling off the table. They can afford it though, because there's so many people coming through the door, right? But if
Mhm.
you could figure out a way, or not figure out a way, you ain't really got to figure it out. Just ask me and I'll tell you what to do. If you make a relationship with them to where it's mutually beneficial, if they send you leads, if they send you people, you make it mutually beneficial, because not everybody that comes into their door buys their product. And they only get paid if that person buys their product. So there are people that
Right.
are walking out that don't have an agent, that there's opportunity there if you can make it mutually beneficial. So your relationships, Evans, needs to be with those sales counselors and having those kind of conversations on how can we make a mutually beneficial relationship in the event somebody comes in here and doesn't want to buy the house that you have, but they're still in the market and not working with anybody. And if I work with them, we can make it beneficial for both of us. So how can I help you? So you need to be out there asking that question with as many sales counselors as possible. That makes sense?
Yes.
Good. All right. We'll go with
And the
Margaret.
other thing that I did also take away is marketing is very key right now.
It's
Figuring out
always
what
gonna be key. But
is the
marketing is
main key.
always gonna be key. That's one of the basic buckets of business, marketing and
Right.
prospecting.
Marketing prospect.
Yeah. So that's always gonna be key to having
Right.
any kind of successful business. All right, Margaret.
To being a home buying readiness expert.
I like that. I like that. And lucky thing for you, Brooks and Davis Signature has a program already, right?
Yes.
We have the Home Readiness Success Program. So, which is where we've kind of consolidated and packaged those services together so you can better position yourself like that. And something else that you're feeling being a part of Brooks and Davis Signature is we have the database of people, right? Which we've already been compiling that, right? So we've already been capitalizing on that trend and that demand that they talked about. We're experiencing that demand because we're seeing it come through our doors every day. People looking for that type of expertise. All right. But today gave you a greater understanding of what we're doing.
Yes.
Good. Love it. All right, Ashley, your turn. Ashley. Ashley. All right, we'll come back to Ashley. Rosalind. You there, Rosalind? No, they just placeholders for us. All right. Okay. Well, that's pretty much what I have for today.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Do we have a relocating program
What you mean?
here, like a training or something for like relocation, get a relocation expert?
Um, well, when you say like a training,
Cause like they have like the endorsements that you can get to go through training to be a relocation?
All right, yeah, they
Uh-huh.
accreditations, absolutely. So let me ask you this question. Which bucket was a designation? The basics of business. Which bucket was?
Go back to my notes.
Which bucket was designation? It ain't on there. All
Okay.
right. Where was designations at under the basics of business? It's not there. All right. So now let's think about your question. We're thinking about relocation. Okay. We got 5 buckets. First bucket, marketing and prospecting. Second bucket, sales. Third bucket is operations. Okay. I'm gonna go backwards. For operations, is a person relocating to Houston versus a person relocating within Houston? Is it a different process?
I think it's a different.
Okay. Percentage wise, how much of it is different? 20%, 50%, 80%? How much of it is different person within Houston versus coming to Houston? Okay, so 50%. Margaret, what you think? The process, the operations. 10%. I would agree with Margaret. The bulk of it's gonna be the same, right? Whether you moving from South Park to Sugarland or whether you moving from Louisiana to Sugarland, 80 to 90% of it's gonna be the same thing, operations wise, right? Okay, so now is sales gonna be different? Person moving from South Park to Sugarland versus from Louisiana to Sugarland. Is your sales process, your method of convincing them to hire you, is that gonna be different? Okay.
I think for me, I feel like it was a 50% difference for the simple fact that we have so many agents here, and if you're coming from Louisiana and you have children, your idea of where you want to move is going to be different from somebody that's coming here from business and doesn't have any kids.
Yeah, but that's motivation.
Okay.
We're talking about we're talking about the execution of helping them get into a house. Is that gonna be different? We talking about the contracts. We talking about the showing the property, just the process. You see what I'm saying? The work is gonna be the same. All right. So now the sales, you convincing them to hire you, is that gonna be different?
Same.
Okay. What you think, Mo?
The same.
It's gonna be the same. Now, I think it'll be slightly different. Now, let me say why. If I'm from Houston versus I'm not from Houston, what's my understanding of what the city provides? Is it the same? Right. So if I'm from Houston, do I have to be sold on the area or the location or the city? I know it. I ain't really got to be sold. Like, am I gonna have to, like, will I be comfortable coming? Will I be comfortable already as a buyer? I'm comfortable, right?
So.
Yeah. Now, if I'm relocating, am I comfortable?
No.
So if I'm going to use you over any other agent, what's the thing that you probably got to do for me? If I'm coming to,
You're on the locate or the for the reason of moving here.
okay,
Why is it perks for you?
right,
You're a local expert.
right, which will make me feel what?
Better.
Comfortable.
So you got to make me feel comfortable. So if you inside of the city, I ain't got to really make you feel comfortable because you're already comfortable. So there's some other things that I got to use from a sales process. But you relocating, in essence, you got to trust I'm taking care of everything. You see what I'm saying? Because it's already going to be a stressful situation. I don't know nobody. I'm a little scared. I'm looking for a relationship. You see what I'm saying? So from a sales standpoint, it's going to be slightly different. You understand what I'm saying? All right. Now, from a marketing and prospecting, to attract somebody that wants to move from South Park to Sugarland versus somebody moving from Louisiana to Sugarland, is that going to be different?
That's gonna be different.
That's going to be different. So you see how I walked it back? So now when you're thinking about, I want to do relocations, do you need a training? What do you really need?
You need to know how to market to those.
Yeah, you just need a marketing strategy. You see the difference? And that's gonna be the same with anything. Okay, I want to do luxury. Is the operations different? No. Is the sales process slightly? Is the marketing big gap?
Yes.
All right. I want to do new home sales. Is the operations different? Slightly. Yeah. Okay. Is the sales process
A little bit.
a little bit? Marketing?
Yeah, that's different.
Big, right? So what you're gonna find is in any of these areas that you want to go in, the biggest part is gonna be your marketing and prospecting strategy. Is how you're gonna attract that person. Once you attract them, how you convince them, there is gonna be some slight difference, but it's not gonna be big. So you just need to figure out what's that 10 or 15% that needs to be different in the sales process with this particular segment, and then is there a 10 or 15% difference from an execution on how I deliver my service to them? Right? But the biggest piece is the how am I going to attract that person? Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's see. Ashley, is Ashley or Rosalind back? Unmute yourself if y'all talking. Now some people be talking, they don't know they're muted. Okay. All right. So I know a part of the broker's work, what I do sometimes, but we're past time, is I'll show kind of what are the upcoming trainings and things like that. But we have posted that inside of the group meeting. We have it posted on the Facebook page. So make sure that y'all stay alert of all the things that we have coming down as far as our trainings, as far as our coaching sessions. Like we're going to go into a group coaching session now. But I absolutely want you all to take advantage, especially in the market that we're in. This market it's about skill, right? It's not about let's see.
Luck.
Right, it's not about luck. Let's see.
Charisma.
Skill, there it is. It's about skill. It's about skill, not speed.
Okay.
That's what I was looking for. There was a particular quote I was looking for. It's about skill, not speed, right? That the market that we're in is not a bad market. It's a normalizing market. And what that means is that the opportunities that I talked about today are for the trained professional, right? So there's a lot of people in the market, a lot of agents that are licensed, but they're not trained professionals. And if you're not trained professionals, you're not going to be able to capitalize on the market that we have going on. And again, Brooks and Davis, we got a lot in place that we're going to do to help you achieve that. So make sure you look at those June events, and then make sure you tap into the one-on-one coaching. If you're a part of the developmental agent, do the one-on-one coaching at least once a week. That's where we can dig more into the execution of what we talked about. The group coaching, like we're doing group coaching this full week. If you're a transactional agent or a team agent, take advantage of the group coaching, at least one group coaching session a week. So again, you can continue to work on those things. And again, the mentor program, which we're going to build up. All right. Reminder that on Thursdays at 5:30, we have our call party where we all call together, right? We're all making dials. We're all reaching out, prospecting, doing it together. It's more comfortable. We found that it's more comfortable if we all come together and we have a designated time where we're doing it together. So tap into the energy and take advantage of that. And then finally, the accessibility. Listen, if you got questions or comments, y'all have my cell phone number. Reach out to me, call me. Don't be shy. If you have mentors, reach out to them. There's other agents that I know some of you all have built relationships with. So reach out to them, call them, ask them to help you, run some things by them. And let's all work together to close more transactions. Okay? All right. With that being said, look, y'all enjoy the rest of your day. If you're not going to stay on for group coaching, that's cool. I'm going to hang out here for maybe another 15 minutes, and then we'll go from there. So if you're going to stay on, just stay on for group coaching. And while we transition, what we're going to do so I can properly transition is we're going to stop this Zoom, and then we're going to start another one. All right. So if you want to do group coaching, give us like 5 minutes. We're going to stop this Zoom, and then we're going to add it back on. All right. That being said, y'all have a great one. This is a good session. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.